Welcome back to our channel. This is Tiffany and
Megan.
And pardon our honesty. Today, we are deep diving into a budget.
Tiffany did not want to talk about
Who
this.
has a budget? You got money in the bank, you just spend it. No, that's not true. That is absolutely not true. So we're going to deep dive into talking about budget, all things. So we're just going to talk about personal budget today.
Yes, keep it simple.
Keep it simple. We're not talking about all things budgeting.
No, just the
Personal.
concept of budgeting.
Okay.
So the reason why I like this topic is because, you know, when I was previously married, we had a lot of debt. Mm-hmm. We did the Dave Ramsey course. We paid off all of our debt. We paid off our cars. Just really, we thought we were very young. We thought we had no money, but we were just spending a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so the reason why I like the subject of budget is because I think it applies to anybody from 12 years old to 90 years old. And, you know, even my daughter who's off at college, you know, she does get assistance through the GI Bill, but, you know, we'll say, she says, I don't have money for that. Well, what are you doing with your money?
I want to ask a lot of people, what are you doing
with your money? Right. And so the first thing when people say they have no money, I always challenge them to write down every single thing you spend money. I know you can look at your bank statement. It's not the same. Write down every single thing you spend money on and look at all the money you have coming in and then categorize it. So for me, I will say my weakness, you could probably tell, is eating out. So I probably spend, I won't even say how much, too much a month eating out. So I know that if I took if there was something I wanted that I would say I couldn't afford, that would be crap because I'm choosing this over that.
Yep.
So do you have that same, like, do you know that you spend money on things you probably shouldn't? And do you function by a budget?
I wish I functioned by a budget. I have one made. I've done the Dave Ramsey program as well. I absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. I love the concept of
the cash envelopes.
Yeah, the envelopes, right? When I did it back in 2010, you know, we still had ATM cards. So it was kind of hard to do the whole put the budget cash in this envelope and then when you go to the grocery store, that's what you use. And if you don't have any in there, oh well. I try to do it where I'm gonna set the budget and let the bank kind of alert me, or let my spreadsheet alert me, hey, you went over gas. Well, hell, I still need some gas. So what do? I did use the snowball method to pay off a lot of debt before I retired. So yeah, I got rid of like a whole bunch of debt. But then when I got a bigger budget, I started spending bigger money.
Well, they say the more you make, the more you spend.
Yes, and it's hard.
And I think the interesting thing that I always find is I will ask people, and I don't judge anybody. I spend a lot of money frivolously. Like I'm not. But when I ask people that I know have very good incomes, and I say, do you have a savings? And they have zero savings. You know, what's going to happen if that car breaks down, or if you're not covered by some insurance and you need to pay something, like, you know, and I just don't have it to save. You do. I think it's a matter of looking at it and saying, I think the best thing anybody can do is write down every single thing you spend money on, look at your income for the month and evaluate.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're going out every day for lunch and dinner, and you're going to a movie every other day, and you're taking a trip once a month, don't say you don't have money. You're just choosing not to eliminate one of those things and put it in savings.
Yeah.
But I think budgets, the envelope method I love because it's tangible. I think over the years I even see in the kids' school, everything is scanned.
Yeah.
You scan your finger, you scan your card. Nobody has a physical concept of money. Like, here's $20. Now I'm down to 18. That's like swipe, and then let you swipe sometime when you don't have anything left to swipe in there. And then they send you a bill.
Yep.
Like, and I think that's where people are losing track of how much money they spend.
Well, there are all kinds of apps. I use Microsoft Excel. They have a great budgeting product for your personal finances. Even if you were doing business finances, you can use that. What I find is helpful is you probably should review, if you're not going to, like you're saying, write it down, you need to review your charges and your balance every single day. Go into that banking app and look at it. What did I spend? And like you're saying, you do need a savings. You got to pay yourself first. You need, I would say, to give back. If that's $5, $10, give back. Pay your bills. Your bill money is not for you to go to the Dreamville concert and be like, oh, shoot, I don't have rent money. Because you're going to be homeless. So what are the priorities in your life, right? So how do you set a budget?
Well, the first thing I want to say is if you can't pay cash, you shouldn't buy it. So I think credit cards have become, I'm just going to charge and buy, and I'm going to buy the best clothes.
That's extra money.
I'm going to buy, exactly. It's free money. I'm going to buy extra clothes and extra shoes, and I'm going to do all this and put on a credit card and make my minimum payment. That's a debt.
Yep.
You're paying way more in interest, and it's not necessary if you live within your means. And I think the problem nowadays is everybody wants to keep up with the next person. And so they have this, I need it. Well, I can't afford it, so I'm just going to charge it. And I think that we've got to get that under control, that you don't have to compete with the guy next to you, guy next to you. Like, be within your range. How do you create a budget? I've done it as simple as telling like the kids, I mean, we have kids from 13 to 18, just write down how much money you have and what do you want to spend every week. And, 20% needs to go into savings. Yeah. So if your car insurance is $150 and you spend $50 a week on gas, then you already know $200 for that. If you're working with a $400 budget, $50 goes into, $80 goes into your savings, and then that's what you get to spend for the week. And when you run out of the shit, I'm sorry.
There's no more.
There's no
money tree.
I think the problem is, and I see it in adults, I'm guilty sometimes, is I pay off my credit card at the end of every month, but boy, can I charge it up real fast. And at the end of the month when I'm paying it off, I'm like, most of that was crap. Food, entertainment, going out, I would probably save, I don't even want to say how much I could save a month but I can afford to do that as well. Like I'm paying my bills, I pay off my debt. The sad thing is, 20 years ago, we were $30,000 in debt. Yeah. Just charge. Let's get a car. Let's do all this, all this debt. And then, it took us 3 years to pay it all off. But we could do that because we started seeing how much money we were throwing away and prioritize. So for me, how do you make a budget? You just look at what's coming in and what's going out, just like everything else. And what is priority goes first. So my home, my bills, my groceries, priorities first, then your savings, and then your spending. And the one thing that I used to get from somebody was, well, then there's nothing left for me. And I work so hard and I want to spend my money and I want to get what I want, blah, blah, blah.
I heard that.
Sorry, though, you just can't afford that right now.
That's not the priority.
That's not the priority right now. Like, I'm sorry, it sucks. You work hard and all your money goes to bills, but that's what you put yourself in. Yeah. And eventually it won't be like that if but I just think that, I don't know, budget is a big thing for me because I feel bad for people who get drowned. They drown. And most marriages too, they fight about sex or money.
The two biggest fights, sex and money. So I would say you got to prioritize your needs over your wants. If it's not a need, then it can wait. So, and then just because it's waiting doesn't mean it's never. It's just, I got to have a plan. We want to go to Disney World. I need to have a plan. Okay. We want to go to Disney World. How much is that going to cost? How do I cut the unnecessary stuff in my budget so that I can save to go to Disney World, so I'm not having to put that on the charge card? Right. Because when you have debt, I don't care what kind of debt you have, good debt, bad debt, whatever they want to call it, you are a slave to that debt because it's going to come for you every month, every time. If you got a mortgage, you got a car payment, you got a credit card bill, somebody knocking at the door every month on your bank account saying, excuse me, can I have some of that? So managing that is very important. Eating out, that's the biggest robber, I think, of your budget, or not planning. Right. Not planning. Well, and I think too, generationally, like my parents didn't really talk to me about money. I mean, my parents had very good jobs, my mom, but
I wouldn't have thought they had very good jobs the way we lived. And so, not that we lived bad, but my parents weren't frivolous with money. We didn't take trips and, we didn't talk about a lot of that stuff. I know they paid all their bills off every month, but it just wasn't something you talked about. And so like when I went into a marriage at 21 years old, I had no idea. And we were just winging it and making it and charging things. And like, so I think the excuse has to stop. I didn't know. I was never taught that. I didn't know. Well, if you're struggling every month, we got to stop blaming the past and we got to start saying, how can I manage my money and invest it? Or, there's so many people who have money that if that $100 a month you're eating out, you put it into a 6% CD right now, that's going to bring you back tenfold. But everybody's like, that's all too much. That's a lot. I don't have that. Yes, you do have it. I can almost guarantee most people, if you go through the way you live, you probably have a few $100 extra in there. Yes. Does that mean you might be eating ramen noodles and mac and cheese and stuff like that for a little bit? You might. And at 40, you might not want to do that. But if your long-term goal is to be debt-free, or to be able to take that trip or buy that car or do whatever.
Or retire and not have to work until you're 80 years old.
Yes.
Then you got to start planning and budgeting now. I will say that when I was a teenager, budgeting was very, very important to me because like you're saying, I only had a certain amount of money and I needed to pay my rent, buy groceries, and be able to get back and forth to work and take care of a little kid. So there was no extra. We're going McDonald's. McDonald's is at home. We're not shopping. We bought clothes maybe once a year and that was it. But then when I got older and kind of like what you heard, I work every day. I should be able to get what I want. Mm-hmm. And so then my spending just kind of went crazy because...
Or you didn't get it as a child.
Yes, and I've
seen that in our family. Like if you didn't get it as a child, now it's like everything needs to be name brand.
Yes.
I'm going to buy what I want when I want it because I had this deprived childhood. Not me, but people in our...
Yeah.
And it's like... How's that helping you though? You might have a great pair of kicks, but...
It helps me... I think for me, it helps me have a sense of, I did it.
But if you have debt to follow that, did you really do it? Or are you just borrowing people's money to do it?
I'm borrowing people's money to do it.
Yeah.
But I did it. Look at me now, y'all.
You might be able to manage that credit card payment, but I don't know. I think because I've drowned in debt before, that it's really, for me, it's like, I never would want to get back to that place again. So anybody I can talk to about a budget, I am like, well, how much are you spending and how much is, and not to be an asshole, but to be like, just write it out. Just write it out. Just write it out.
Don't, okay, so drowning. What is drowning for you and what drowning for somebody else might be completely different.
Yeah, it might be.
Because I feel like right now with, like you're saying, everybody is so hooked on, I just get a credit card. I just swipe my card. I just want to have that American Express Black card or the Platinum card because I'm balling and I made it. Well, you don't understand that, okay, yeah, this $100, and I'm sure it's way more than $100 that I just put on this card, next month it's going to be $129. So I got 29% interest.
Right.
And then now the $129, the next month, because I didn't pay it off, is going to have another 29% on that. And not just the $100, but the $129. Right. So every month they are making money off of you. Right. Every single month. Yeah. So do you want to give them your money?
Where
do you want to keep your own money?
Well, right. Or if you took that $100 and paid cash for it, and then that extra $29 you're going to pay in interest, put in a savings or do something. And I can't say I've had very good ups and I've had very bad downs. I've spent through money like that and gone, well, what the heck have I done? I've been totally frivolous and I was on a whim. I want that. I want to buy, but not in debt, but spent my cash, which is just as bad in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And then I've saved like crazy to where I panic. Like, what's going to happen if my car broke down? What's going to happen if I don't have military medical coverage. So if I have a major accident or anything, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to pay? Like those things kind of like when you hear people say they're devastated because their car broke down and now they have to choose between fixing their car and their rent. That's where I feel like, could somebody have prepared them better to have an emergency fund, even $1,000 or $1,500? Did somebody teach them that? Did somebody prepare them for that? Instead of those Starbucks $4, $5, $6 coffees a day, it's $30 a week. Mm-hmm. You're at $120 a month. In a year, you would have had,
a lot of money.
You would have had almost $2,000 saved up. And to people, that's, well, whatever. But in reality, it's the truth, and it's what we choose. Like you said, what's a want versus a need.
Yeah. And so one thing you just mentioned is, what if your car breaks down? So your car insurance has a deductible. Y'all need to pay attention to that. Because if you don't have that emergency fund and you have a major accident and your deductible is $500, but you barely scraping by, that $500 is really going to set you back. So,
or if you need a rental car, then in order to get to and from work, and your credit's so bad that you don't have a major credit card, so you can't rent a car, and it doesn't have it on your insurance. Now you're double barreling yourself.
Okay, so what's some good percentages to have for my needs from my income? We're gonna say I got $1,000. From this $1,000, okay, hopefully nobody's out there just making $1,000. But if you are, that's okay. But how much of that $1,000 should be my absolute necessities? How much of it should be my savings or investments? How much of it should I put aside for, I want to be able to do X, Y, Z. So this is my allowance for that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's hard. I think that's by person, because some people live very much beyond their means. They're in a $1,600 a month rental apartment when they could be in a $900. So they might take up 60% of their income on their rental. Some people, I see a lot, they live in a not great housing, but they have a freaking $1,200 car payment. And so they want to roll around in a nice car with that car insurance, but they don't care where they live. So that's kind of hard. I think that you just have to allot, and I'm sure there's some scientific thing out there somewhere, but I think everything has to get allotted. So your major expenses of what you live in, obviously your housing you shouldn't be house poor. It shouldn't be 75% housing, just like it shouldn't be 75% car. But you have to have money set aside for savings or investment and emergency fund. And then, you have to have something for yourself. And if it's $5 that week, then hey, you get your Starbucks coffee, do the rewards and scan and try to earn a free one. Dunkin' Donuts gives those away way more than Starbucks. So figure out, get a coupon. You know what I mean? If it's a $5 reward, but I don't know the percentages off the top of my head, but I do know that you have to really evaluate. If my car is 75% of my income, maybe it's time to give up that car and refocus that, that money.
That's hard. So if someone does their budget and they realize, oh crap, I'm in over my head, how do they start to dig themselves out?
Baby steps. So where are we over our head? Are you more concerned that you don't have any savings? You might not have any debt. I know a lot of people have no debt, but they have no savings. They make a lot of money, but God forbid next month they didn't. I don't know what they would do. And so, maybe your priority then is, let's look at where we're spending, how much money is realistic for me to put in a savings account. That's what I focus on for 1 year. If you're debt, you start with the smallest, the snowball effect, pay off that small one first. And it goes as far as, say, sell things, get a side job, get a part-time job, walk dogs, do something to earn money to pay off that smallest debt. Then whatever you were paying on that smallest debt and the second debt, you snowball it into the next one and you slowly pay them off. And it could be a long, hard process. But I think it depends on like in our job, we meet clients all the time and you say, this is what you're going to have to do over the next year to get qualified. And you have the people who do it to the T, and then you have the people who say,
nope,
I'm not doing all that. I'm not paying that off. I'm not saving money. This is how I'm not making on-time payments. This is how I'm living. So I think it really is your personal, me saying have one or you saying have one means nothing if you don't have a personal goal of what you want to achieve in a year from now, 5 years from now, and 10 years from now.
That's true.
Because if you're just living for now, it's kind of hard to be motivated.
Yeah.
What do you find is the hardest thing about a budget?
The hardest thing about a budget for me is, I know exactly where all the money is going, is sticking to, we're going to set this limit for, we eat out a lot and we take a lot of vacations. So how do we start saving now for the trip for my birthday in February and stick to it throughout the long haul. So the sticking to it is the part that's the
I think
hardest.
sometimes for me, the hard part is I have to, like, I'm ridiculous if you ever saw my stuff. And when I buy houses, it's horrible. But I have an account for like everything. So if I want to save money for a trip, I have to have a separate account. Because if I just put it in my savings, my tax bill comes, I'm paying my tax.
Yes,
it hasn't been totally separated. Now, the funny thing is I know quite a few people, actually, I don't want to say their names because they take theirs out in cash. So they get paid, they pull out all their money in cash, they do the envelope. But if they're planning for a trip or want to pay something off, they start piling it away in their house in cash. So it's there, but they don't touch it. And then the bank accounts, their regular stuff, which I can see why. But for me, I just have, like, I'll open an account online, call it vacation. And that's where I'm going to put a little bit of money here and there. Because if I mix it with everything else, I don't really know if I've saved for that. And it's kind of and then I pull from this one and go to that one. So I would say you'd have, for me, like sticking to, if you had a defined place that you could look at it, like I go to my bedroom and pull out my money and I only have $30 for my vacation, I think it would make you stick to it more because you see that that $30 ain't gonna get me anywhere. Or if I had an account just labeled honeymoon or vacation and I see there's only $100 in there, it might be more motivating than just throwing it in a checking or throwing it in a savings and you don't really know what it's allotted to for that motivation. And that might, help you stick to it. But
how do you work with a partner? Partners and budgets. So I have a husband and we need to work out a budget. And I'm this way on the budget and they're that way on the budget.
That's really hard.
How do you come to a happy medium?
I think you have to figure out, I would say figure out your common goals. Do we both want this vacation? Okay, cool. So what are we both willing to give up to get there? Do we want to pay off this credit card? Is that a priority for both of us? Then do we need to eat out only 2 days a week instead of 4? Or like come to those agreements. Now, again, when I was married, we did have shared finances and we both, he was very cool about, you just give me my money that I get for the week. And we were cool. Moving forward in my life, I would never have shared finances again. I think that for me, we would have a pot for the household, pay the bills, but your money, you do you, my money, we do me. If we're going to take a trip, what's our goal? We each have to raise how much. And that's what I'm going to do. I think shared finances causes a lot of, why'd you go buy those shoes? You shouldn't have bought those shoes. And he's like, I work too hard. Why don't I get those shoes? Where
I work too hard. Why can't I Christian Louboutin?
Yeah. Why can't you have that purse that you got? But that might be if we had a shared plan, like this is our trip fund we both participate in. These are our household bills we both participate in. Here's our investments we both participate in. After that, you do you, boo, and I do me, boo, and we're good. So that's probably not the best way for most people because everybody shares their finances. But for me, I feel like then if he's bad with money and you're great with money, then good,
But don't you think that will also cause conflict? Because if one is bad with the money and one is good with money, oh crap, we have this emergency.
Well, if I'm married to you, I'm going to give you some of my money.
Let me have some of your money.
But I'm going to be like, this is why I'm better with money.
Bad.
It could cause conflict. I don't know. It could. Now, me and Nick have been together 7 years. We don't share finances. When we lived together, we had a pot. We split bills, and that was fine. But then he didn't have to answer to me if he wanted to go buy something for his car. And I didn't have to run something by him if I went to the mall and wanted to go buy 4 outfits of stupid shit. Like, it was like, okay, that's her money. As long as our bills are paid, our savings is there, and our whatever. Not saying that's the way to go. Yeah. And if you're in a relationship that you share money, I would say it has to be communicated and written out, and you guys really have to say what are our goals. And if somebody's like just not in agreement, then you really got to put in writing, like, what are your goals? These are my goals, and what are we working towards? Because otherwise we're just pissing away money.
I do think having a conversation often about finances, especially if you're in a relationship, is a must. You can't just happenstance, it's going to figure itself out. It's going to work. You got to have that open communication to say, hey, we're going down this slippery slope, or we're going to get ourselves out, and this is our goals, and this is how we're going to do it. You got to be able to talk about that.
Yeah, and I think 2 things with that. If you're a young couple, that's something you really should be talking about, because if you jump into marriage and you have 2 people that are very frivolous with money, it could hurt you. Right. You're going to be in trouble. And if you have one partner who is frivolous with money and one that's a penny pincher, that could also create trouble. So it's something you should talk about. Yeah. The other thing too, I forgot what I was going to say.
I can't help you with that.
It was something about budget and... I need to have a piece of paper so I can write my thoughts down.
Yeah, you need a piece of paper. So talking about...
friends. That's what I was talking about. Friends. So some people, you're keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Oh, no.
So,
don't keep up with me.
So, if you're in a friend group you can't afford, don't put yourself in debt to be in the friend group.
No.
Like, you see people sometimes that are like, oh, I have no money, and then they're going out and doing all this stuff and getting on a plane and going here and doing that just to be part of the crowd. That's not worth it.
It's really
and then that must not be your real friends.
Yeah.
Because if I had somebody like that in my group and they couldn't go, either I don't go or they just stay back and chill. We're cool. We understand. Or we all chip in and pay for it or something. But don't put yourself in debt to be a cool kid.
No.
Or adult.
Well, I will say some tips for budgeting is, like you said, keeping up with the Joneses. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses, but if you're looking for an alternative to, okay, this item costs a whole bunch of money, how can I get it for cheaper? You can try thrift stores, you can try consignment stores, or maybe you and your partner have an agreement, or you have an agreement with yourself. I'm going to look for this thing for 2 weeks to see if I can't find it cheaper. If I can't find it cheaper in 2 weeks, then I'll buy it at full price. And then that could be ways that you still reward yourself. You're getting something that you really want, but you're not blowing the budget right off the bat. You have to commit to, I'm going to look for a cheaper price somewhere else for 2 weeks before I actually go and buy it. So that's the only budgeting tip I got.
Well, and then there's coupons. You can look online. There's online sales. There's coupons. There's... rewards for everywhere you go to eat, everywhere you buy stuff, there's rewards. Like, do all that to help, if you want to have those things every day, do the things to get rewards to where you can get it back. There's a huge controversy of, do I use a credit card that gives me miles and gives me this? I see the benefits, but if you can't manage your shit and pay it off every month, then it's not worth the bonus points. That's all I'm going to say about that.
It's not.
But I think too, I don't know. I think it goes back to some of our previous episodes. If you feel that you've got to be keeping up with somebody, or you have to have this name brand thing, or you have to, who is that for? Is it really for you? Are you trying to prove something to somebody? Are you, we all want to feel good about ourselves, but to what extent? If I go out and there was one time when I was married, I went to the store and I bought 4 outfits and it was $500. Yeah. And I came home, I felt so good in the store, right? I was like, oh my gosh, they were so nice to me. These outfits are so... I came home and I looked at my husband at the time and I said, you need to return this tomorrow. I was too embarrassed. Because I felt good. I was in the store. I was with a group of girls. They always shop there. And I thought, oh, of course, these people are so nice. They're getting all your outfits. And I went home and I was almost vomiting. Oh my God, I spent $500 on 4 stupid outfits. And I'm what was I doing that for? Because I felt pressure to buy it because I didn't want to tell the sales lady no because my friends were there, but I don't know. So I made him go and return them. I couldn't do it. I was like, could you please go return them? I'm too embarrassed. So you really got to check yourself sometimes. And what I do is I just avoid it. So I'm super bougie about traveling. So everything else I am not. I don't need name brand clothes. But if I get somewhere that I know I would spend a lot of money, I just don't go. I just say I'm busy. I can't go. I have an appointment, whatever, just to avoid it. Because I already know if I go, I'm going to spend money. But with travel for me, I am past the point in my life that I want to be sleeping on the floor or, I've done all that, but now I do it conservatively. So I look way ahead, look for the days that are cheapest to travel, do the Google tricks and do, I try to do things to bring the cost down. But if I know ahead of time, we're going to take a trip next year and I like to travel nice, I'm going to be saving for that because I don't want, priorities, I guess. The
priorities. So budgeting, guys, very important, very, very important. There's so many apps. There's so many programs.
Start simple.
That you can use.
Simple.
The basic is write down how much I earn versus how much I spend.
And really pay attention to what you are spending on. The gas station stops for power energy drinks for $3. Your cigarettes for $6.15. Your coffees for $3. Movie tickets for $12. Like really, really pay attention. Just as a challenge, do it for 2 weeks. Yeah. 2 weeks. Take 2 weeks and write down every single thing you spend on paper so you can look at it every day in the car, every time you're doing something, and really evaluate where you're spending your money versus what's coming in.
If I did that,
I'm disgusted with myself sometimes. So, yeah.
Writing it down, piece of paper and a pen is the most simplest way, but there are so many other things that can help you. It will be beneficial for your future self to do this now, to start it now.
It's never too late to start.
Yeah, don't wait until...
And if you mess up, just like with that diet that you always start on Monday, then start it over on Monday. Yeah.
Start it over.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So if you have budgeting questions, don't call us. There are some financial planners out there. And Google and Siri have all the answers you ever need.
Yeah.
But it's very important. Please share this with your teens, with your young adults, with your parents and your cousins and aunties. If they don't have a budget, they need one.
Yes.
And until next time, guys, don't forget to give us those 5 stars. And we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.